Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy Monday night to join me. I really do appreciate that. My voice is starting to go, so I guess I actually better only spend about 12 minutes making this video. Listen, tonight was the first night in like 3 months at least where we got back to what I used to typically do from the comfort of my now emptied space where my desk used to be, and that was making 4 videos every night. They definitely were not 4 improv videos made in the way that I made them tonight, in the length that I have made them, and so we all have different goals we aspire to reach, and I'm happy to report to all of y'all that I have just achieved one of my individual milestones in life. Again, low-bearing fruit, you feel me? But nonetheless, that's kind of why I'm here with you tonight for a 4th video. Right now, I want to talk about no contact, and specifically the inspiration from this, I know the inspiration from this particular talk actually stems from a video that I've seen a few days ago, and a really cool content creator that I just recently found I'm a sub to, and she goes over how she's happy that millennials are finally being the generation that is making a stand towards all terrible parents out there. Now, let's put that into perspective so far as what I will be speaking about. You know, terrible parents, there's a variety of them. There's a variety of terrible parents. There are, terrible parents that are terrible because they were absent. There are terrible parents that were terrible because they were harmful and abusive. There were terrible, there's all, and whether or not parents are absent or not, and the level of terrible that can be inferred or gathered from such is always contingent upon previous conditions and circumstances that have arisen from no faults whatsoever of any sentient human being born into a world without their consent, and in fact is solely on the shoulders of the adults that, for all conceivable reasons, are still unable to get along. And again, that, so there's different kinds of terrible parents. Okay, so whatever circumstance you might be thinking that I'm talking about or not, or anything at all like that, just understand that to this very day, 1,000 videos almost into this entire catalog that I've created over the past year, I have, been really, really, careful about specifics of anything at all that may or may not involve my own experiences with said topic. And I will say this, when I have something to say, I'm really not, I basically say it, just so much as I'm very proud of content creators, especially millennials, for standing up to terrible parents. And by this response, specifically, and moreover, I'm talking about the no contact. Okay, so I I can't tell you guys how bittersweet it is knowing that and again, at some point, are you conditioned on some type of syndrome level to love people regardless of how they've treated you, just given the fact that their presence was there? I don't think so, as far as no contact goes, right? Because a lot of stories that come from millennials involve backgrounds where, both parents were in the home, and there wasn't any real conceivable reason that those people brought into those homes would have had a bad experience based on what was perceived from the outside. The nuclear family, the relationship between, the mother and father, all of these things, so on and so forth. Now, that doesn't change the fact, right, that, parents, for whatever reason, may have caused problems and harm to their children, unintended or intended. And if said circumstances prevail, and a matter of fact, an outcome is that of one person in a family feeling that they've been victimized, because of their abuse, they're a victim, as a result of their abuse and stuff. What's real weird is when parents like I think Xer parents and Boomer parents do, they don't take accountability for their actions. Like my again, on the public record, without getting my mom and dad all mad, like, is it, so far as it concerns their being my mother and father, myself included in that. Like, I'm the first person to admit my mistakes. You feel me? Like, again, like, there are times in my life where it's not a roast. You feel me? Like, I'm a loser, by every measurable standard. My decision making in life has led me to have to acclimate and adapt and adjust to a different kind of a life that I have subjugated myself to as a result of ill and poor decision making. And so again, I'm not like the guy. Like, I've made mistakes, all of these different things, and I just feel like we all do, I'll admit them. That it sucks. I think being an accountable and transparent person sucks because there's no running from the truth, and I'm quickly learning this, and I'm taking it at face value, and there's no twisting any type of absolute truth or anything at all like that, and some of these larger concepts are actually quite hard to think about, much less enact. And so I just find myself in a situation where I really think that anytime in life there's a situation where parents can be held accountable, their lack of accountability is, almost like borderline insanity, so far as it is with Xers and Boomers. They don't want to admit fault to anything. Even if you've stated that, like, you had, a terrible, like, childhood because of this, and this, they're quick to point out that you had a great childhood because this, and this, and in fact, you're ungrateful because you feel like you've experienced anything negative when in fact all I've done for you is provide and feed you and all of these things. Mom and Dad, I weigh 110 pounds. Like, all I'm saying is that, like, I'm not sure if, these kinds of levels of tiered, ironic, contingencies that parents place upon themselves at the very low end reaching of, fruit or whatever. Like, I'm just saying that, parents suck when they're not able to, like, apologize, or when they're not even willing, or when worst, they don't even think they've done anything wrong. This is, in fact, the epidemic, I would argue, of Boomers and Xer parents, is they don't even, they are at fault for nothing. And if something is their fault, it's because their parents did something to them. Have you guys experienced this before? Like, I again, maybe not. I hope that you haven't, because, in a world where you want things to go as best as they can, you'd like it for your parents of all people to be accountable for their actions, to, like, at the very minimum, right? Because, again, there are many sides to different stories, but to say sorry, like, to acknowledge the fact that they have been such a royal screw up, or that they've, took away so many opportunities from you, or that they gaslit you as a child before you could even, conceive of what being gaslit was, into doing certain things so that you could appease your parents, also that you could feel like they love you. That's some straight, like, grime, like making kids do stuff to feel a certain type of way so that you as an adult can feel loved. Like, that's gotta be some real low stuff. And not in a good way. Not in the kind of way that I usually go for with my low-bearing fruit examples. But you see what I'm saying? Like, how there are different levels to involvement in children's life and how it impacts them throughout the rest of their life, And again, there are different circumstances for all of the reasons that parents may or may not be toxic or terrible, And again, I think it's more than important to think about those things. Those things must be considered when, you arrive at any kind of conclusion about anybody's parenting habits or skills, or the absence of those parenting skills, or, it's just, because unfortunately children always bear the price of whatever dumb decisions their biological parents have made, and that is a collective unified decision that both people made and are both just as equally responsible for making not work as the same other person. And even when there is more fault to blame on the other person, it never negates the response that elicits certain kinds of behavior from these different kinds of situations. And, again, just boomers and Xers are like the brilliant minds of making children feel bad about things they should not only not feel bad about, but should be supported in actively trying not to be made felt bad about. And again, though, that I think in a simple kind of context is love. I think that is actual love, right? Is that. And again, you'll hear it from all different angles. Other parents, I'm sure, taking their hair out right now. "Oh, you're saying I don't love my kid?" I mean, no, I'm not saying that, but how much could you possibly love your kid if, you're setting them up for failure in so many different ways? I just, in that context, it's a little weird. And no contact is a great solution to having parents that deserve to not be talked to. And, the weird thing is at the end of the day, I think that if a parent is terrible, they get what they want. And that may actually be you not in their life. And what's scary about that is that it is when it happens to you when you're an adult, right? When you think that everything's chill, you think everything's cool, but then, you turn into an adult and then all of a sudden these things are engaged upon. Whereas sometimes people have the opposite experience. They don't even get to meet any one of either of their parents until they're a little bit older, and then develop different kinds of relationships that way. Whether or not those relationships end up being well, I think is again entirely contingent upon whether or not the parent is doing what the parent needs to do. And being a parent is not is a thankless job. You should never expect a thank you at all for anything. You've brought somebody into this world that didn't give you permission to bring them here, and that's what I'm saying. So ultimately, I think as parents, myself included, I'm terrible, absolutely, just, as so far as categorically speaking, maybe being absent, maybe being not, for whatever reason, it still impacts our children. And I'm not stupid, and I know that. But that doesn't change the fact, again, that ultimately it is the dutiful responsibility of adults, and sometimes that is just an unachievable goal, and it sucks. It really does. But all you can do is hope and continue to work on yourself and be better, and hopefully not be a parent that ends up having a child that enacts a no contact rule on you because of the way that you've treated them throughout the duration of their life. And again, what's darker, what's more sickening, I think, than that is when parents convince themselves that they've done a good job of raising you, when in fact they did the opposite. They did the opposite of a good job raising you as far as it concerns their involvement, not the way that you've turned out, none of those things, but the lack of their involvement as it directly concerns what you may or may not be doing in your life right now. Absolutely. But still, I'm a fan. Go Millennials, go no contact. Terrible parents suck, and they deserve no credit for providing you with the very basic things that you needed to survive in a world that you didn't ask to be a part of. So that's just as simple as I can put it, right? Again, you gotta give love to have love. And moreover, to do that, you gotta love yourself. And I feel like a lot of these parents and a lot of these people, they don't love themselves, you feel me? So how could they possibly love their children, or how could they possibly love their partner if they don't love themselves? Again, some of us have the opposite problem. I wish I could marry myself. I love myself. We should all be so lucky. I strongly encourage you to love yourself as well. It's the only thing that I got going for me. Anyways, I'm getting out of character here. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. This was the first time in a long time that we made 4 videos. Felt kind of good. It was kind of that night. We need the videos. I need to get to 1,000, so it all helps. It's like someday before the 20th. That will be here soon, and I'm just making sure that I'm doing what I need to do to hit another milestone for myself. And again, these aren't incredibly awe-inspiring milestones that I'm grasping for or towards, but it's the little things in life, and I'm happy and proud of myself for being consistent and for showing up and trying, because that's all that I'm doing. I'm just trying. And hopefully something sticks. I'm convinced that if I throw 1,000,000 darts at the dartboard, that hopefully, one of them will land in a good spot. It's a numbers game, right? And so, yeah, I guess just so much as it is getting a girl to call you. For the record, no, that's another video. I'm going to talk about my ex in another video. And not the ex that you may or may not be thinking about. The fact that I have so many exes that may or may not be watching this show and may or may not be thinking that I'm talking about them is actually very, very weird, cringe, and uncomfortable. So just know that, this story involves a recent ex so far as, like, today. So if you're an ex out there and I haven't talked to you today, it's not about you, alright? So I'm just saying. Disclaimer. God, I'm a terrible, awful, promiscuous man, middle-aged, just living my best life kind of a guy. Anyways, I hope that you guys, again, are doing well. Thanks so much for being here and watching these shows, my channel, and being a part of my life. I'd have it no other way, and I look forward to the future. I really do. So thanks so much. My name's Albert. This is Vlogs About Nothing. If you're not already, smash the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, it doesn't matter. Just show some love or hate. I take it as love anyway, so it's all good. Yeah, have a really good night, and I'll see everyone tomorrow. Okay, bye.